Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We good? Oh, well, it's today. We were just chuckling earlier on because normally I do my lives on a Friday. So this is my Friday. Somehow I managed to schedule it for Thursday. Yeah, so we won't go into that one now, will we? So, okay. Those of you who are joining me live, hello. Those of you who are joining by replay, hello. Share, share, share. But if you are here live, we want to get your comments. This is a conversation that we're going to be having today. I'm talking to these two incredible ladies as I was telling them how many endorphins I think are going to be released or during this talk, because it's such a feel-good moment when I talk to either Anna Louise or Beth Baldwin. Now, first of all, I'll ask Anna Louise Stubbings Bates to introduce herself, and she has some friends with her as well. So let's start with you first, Anna Louise.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anna Louise, and I founded a charity called Believe Organ Donation Support about just coming up to 8 years ago. The mascot of the charity is our Fraser Bear, who joins us today. This is my own special Fraser Bear. Now, Fraser was my son, who sadly passed away and donated his organs. But Fraser, we used to call Bear after the House of Fraser Bear and also Bear Grylls. So this is my special one. And it did used to have Bear Grylls' signature on the back, because I was lucky enough to meet him and we discussed about what the importance was of the gift of life, and actually how much Fraser and his dad had contributed to like the ethos of scouting and the whole kind of Christian belief of giving life. And then we've got the other ones. We've got about 3,000 of these travelling the world at the moment. Now this one's got some famous owners like Prince William, like Bear Grylls himself, Ollie Murs, and you can check out some of his famous friends on our website. And then the final one, which is last but not least, is our little Hope Bear. Now this one was named during COVID. We went around the schools and said we wanted a smaller one because people wanted to take a smaller bear on adventures around the world talking about organ donation. And so we went around the schools, and this bear was called Hope and won the competition, and a little Hope Bear was presented to a pupil in school, and she categorized it as hope reflected what we all needed during COVID was that thought of hope, but also recognizing, especially during COVID, the importance of appreciating the gift of life and that life is actually a gift. So
That's
our bear is
fantastic.
actually, so we're joined by our
It's
bears,
brilliant.
and so
Yes,
hopefully
see them right there
everyone
so
will
we can.
enjoy today.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. And now, Beth Baldwin, my cheeky friend, Beth Baldwin. Yes, please introduce yourself to us, Beth.
Good morning, Bernie and Anna, and hi, everybody listening this morning, checking in on us. I'm Beth Baldwin, and I am a campaigner and ambassador for Diabetes UK Cymru in memory of my son Peter, who we sadly lost 9 years ago, aged just 13, to undiagnosed type 1 diabetes. So I spend my time volunteering and campaigning to raise awareness of the signs and the symptoms of type 1 diabetes, which are the 4 T's, toilet, thirsty, tired, and thinner. It's actually Diabetes World Month this month, and World Diabetes Day is next Tuesday on the 14th of November. So I will be sharing lots of our campaign materials just to raise awareness and ensure this doesn't happen to any other family. I'm also a leadership coach and trainer, and have recently finished work with Chwarae Teg as our beloved gender equality charity here in Wales came to an abrupt close. So I am a coach and trainer, continuing on that journey, empowering women across Wales. So if that's something that you're interested in, please get in touch with Bernie or myself.
Fantastic. This is such a rich setup today of these fantastic ladies. But in life, there are challenges that come to us all. But one of the things that really resonated with me just now is when Anna Louise mentioned the gift of life, and when I think about our children being that gift to us. And when we get a gift, it's how we treat with it that actually uh, it actually lets us either enjoy it or not enjoy it. But you ladies didn't have that opportunity to continue to love and care and treasure your wonderful gifts that you had. But what you've done is, despite the fact that those gifts were taken away from you through no fault of your own or theirs, what you've done is you've kept that gift going. You, Anna Louise, by the gift of life, literally, that you're encouraging people to give by giving, donating their organs. But of course, both, I won't steal your thunder, but the organs were donated first from your family, and then you're now encouraging others to donate their organs. And then Beth, now saving lives by raising awareness to this type of diabetes. That is just incredible. And that is what we women are all about. And that is why I'm so passionate about diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion and belonging. Because, I always say, you might have people included, but if you don't treat them properly, then they don't feel like they belong and they cannot make the difference that they need to make. Both of you would have had to have gotten support. And in the challenges that you faced, you've had to have people come alongside you to help you to get through it. People who are become aware of your situation, and they feel empathy and they come along and influence others to get alongside you. And that's the whole essence of allyship, and that's the whole essence of treating people in a way that they feel like they belong. But so can I just ask you, Beth, in your situation with what happened with Peter, how was it for you initially? Did you find people aware of your challenges, open support, or did you find people were afraid? Because sometimes we don't know how to handle things and we are afraid. What was the response you found initially to your situation?
Well, I'm sure Anna will agree. Childhood bereavement is the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to catch it. Nobody wants to upset you further. Nobody knows what to say. I mean, what do you say? And I get that. You've got all of the previous quotes, it's better to say something than nothing. And I think, it depends what it is that's been said. And people are scared. People are really scared to just be real, be authentic, and just sit with you and say, this is really awful. This is heartbreaking, and I don't know what to say, and I'm really sorry, and I'm here for you. And that's all you really need, is knowing that the support is available. When Peter died, there was very little counselling and support available, and we left the Heath Hospital with a beige leaflet of about 4 pages that just says, when your child dies, and a bunch of phone numbers. And 90% of those phone numbers and email addresses were out of date. And the only one that was still active was only available on a Tuesday between 11 and 12. Peter died on a Tuesday. So, when I picked up that leaflet on the Tuesday night, there was no support for at least a week. And then if somebody else is phoning that hotline at the same time as you can't get through because there's only one number, one hotline.
Wow. So Anna Louise, did you find a similar kind of situation with you when Fraser died?
Yeah, mine was slightly different to Beth due to time expiration as well. But because mine involved a road traffic incident, and my husband, myself, my daughter and Fraser were crossing a road and they were hit by a car. Sadly, my husband passed away at the scene, and then somehow Fraser actually managed to survive, get to a hospital in Wales, and then he was transferred to a hospital in Bristol. And so when I was actually approached about organ donation for Fraser, I always say that was the one point I didn't have to think, because I knew what Stu and Fraser would have wanted me to do, because I didn't have the other parent there with me to know how to deal with it, or what to do. And because then it eventually led to a criminal prosecution, and I was a witness, it meant I wasn't able to talk about actually what had occurred. I didn't really have anyone with me that had been through the entire 24-hour period, and therefore I left the hospital quite the opposite to Beth, with leaflets and booklets galore. But it was such a big event that I didn't know where to go. I was not able to siphon through books and books and books for me to know where to go, when I was too busy in the immediate aftermath of practicalities of trying to even get the boys back together to say goodbye together. Things that nobody will actually know about what I had to do with my immediate family. And, you know, each of my immediate family suddenly had to have roles to help me cope with the sheer practicalities of what had happened. But therefore I buried the grief and the trauma because I had to get through that.
What was the time span? What's the time difference in terms of years between your loss, Beth, and Anna Louise? What's it?
I think it was a year. So Peter was
Just
January,
right?
January 2015, and I'm sure the boys were December 2015. So the same year, the start and end of the same year.
The same years, but so in the same year there were you had more. So it might just be the location that you left from, as opposed to the location that Beth left from. Because I was just thinking, if you had all of these material, but then Beth only had one grade, I was just wondering how many years did it take for there to get difference. But that might be an indicator of what's happening, that it's not there for everyone and in every location, and that flags that up.
Yeah, and I think it's also because I got, for example, a booklet from Break, that because it was a road traffic incident, I got a booklet from them. I got a booklet from Organ Donor because he'd been an organ donor. Because I was in Bristol, I didn't get anything in relation to bereavement support like Beth, but I actually had first-hand knowledge because of To Wish Upon a Star. So that part of me, you know, I already kind of knew that kind of support was there. But but they don't. But again, like Beth, and even going through the organ donation process, you don't get anybody to kind of be there to tell you what's available, to show you, to signpost you. And like Beth, I had to find all the support, I would say, myself, because even approaching the GP, for example, and I still do it now and say I'm struggling, and I'll be honest with that, you know, it's coming up to the anniversary. I know Beth's the same, winter months is, you know, and, you know, we very much come together, Beth and I, over the winter months, because it's that support to each other that's so important, because whilst we don't understand what each other's been through, we've got some glimmer of a chink of a window that we can open that gives us that little bit of light together to get through it.
So I have a question, because I know, Beth, you have been with Chwarae Teg for quite a while. How many years was it, Beth?
Just coming up to 7, it would have been.
7 years, right? And so that was after your loss. A good few years, because it's 13 years now, so it would have been about 4 years in So before you joined Chwarae Teg, were you in employment at the time, during the time of that?
Yeah, I was working on another women's project called the Wave Project,
So
and
you were working on another project. So good. So because I don't know any of these answers, folks, I'm just asking, you know. But it's interesting that you have spent your life working on projects to empower women. Yes.
Mhm.
And so during that time when you were spending your life empowering women, how do you find it? I'm sorry you called the name of the place, because no, you might not be able to say what your experience was, but if it was negative. But you know, how did you find yourself getting support at that time to maneuver through all of the grief, and then working, and whilst working, doing a job that is about empowering women? How did that?
it's really difficult. It's really difficult because workplaces are not set up to support bereaved colleagues. And as
Yes.
much as they are empathetic, and as much as you might have a line manager who is very supportive, the government have only recently given 2 weeks paid leave if you lose a child. Like 2 weeks. You can't even organize a funeral in 2 weeks, let alone come get to grips with your grief, or even accept that your child has gone and look for a way forward. And I think some organizations are very good and very proactive, but nobody, again, knows what to say. So it's vitally important that organizations think about what bereavement looks like. And this is from stillbirth up to accidents to deaths like Peter, you know, all sorts of child's bereavement, whatever that might look like.
Yes,
And
because the thing is, people like yourselves are part of minoritized groups. It's not actually recognized as one of the characteristics that we protected characteristics in terms of the diverse and inclusion agenda. But I think that's wrong, and that is one of the things that I'm banging on about, is that we need to really widen our mindset when we're thinking about the whole DEI agenda and what we need to do within the workplace and within the communities to actually support minoritized groups, because you are minoritized groups. You're nobody thinks about you. They expect you after 2 weeks to come into work, and they don't think about your mental health and well-being. They don't think about you know, what you're actually going through whilst having to focus on the work without any true support. And then also thinking about the fact that you're worried about finances, because you can't stay off work for a long time, but you potentially need to be out of work, and you potentially need some kind of counseling, and that might cost if it's not something that is readily available freely. And then, Louise, you want to come in on that?
Oh no, definitely, I can agree with that. I mean, fortunately, I was self-employed at the time that it happened, so I voluntarily run the charity. But again, it's like everyone that I speak to, it's like they don't want to talk about grief, and they don't know how to deal with it, and especially within the workplaces. And even when I go into a corporation and just talk about organ donation, people can't look at me, they don't want to react to it, because it really is the unimaginable. And I think it stems further than just child loss, because grief affects us all in whatever commodity, and it still is the elephant in the room. And like, I sadly lost my husband and my son at the same time, and therefore I never got to grieve for both of them individually. But I cannot imagine like losing my husband and again having to go back to work within a week or two. You know, the therapy isn't available, as I said earlier. The GPs don't know where to refer us to. It's not, you know, and there's different levels. You know, I personally, and it's taken me quite a while to accept that I have PTSD. And I always used to think of that as a real buzzword, and to say that I had a mental health difficulty and be part, as you were saying then, Bernie, being part of a minority because of what we've been through.
Yes, you are definitely right. Yes,
because society has put grief in a box that we're not allowed to talk to.
It is in the same
we
box.
make ourselves carry on and not talk about it.
Exactly. And thank you, Penny. I brought on comment there. Penny reached out to you, Beth, saying that's truly awful. Thank you for that, Penny. And you know what I do love, yes, it is truly awful and we have to acknowledge it. But I've just got to say, you know, how incredible it is that you two ladies are here in your strength, doing for others. But, you know, back to what you were saying, Anna Louise, you were saying about, you know, it's been put in a box, nobody knows what to say. And it's very similar to all the other subjects around the taboo subjects around diversity and inclusion. Nobody wants to talk about color. Nobody wants to talk about certain kinds of sexuality. Nobody wants to talk about, you know, God forbid, you know, certain disabilities. People are afraid of it, you know, and we're live, so I know, Beth, if you need to shift your chair around, don't worry, don't panic, because yes, the sun doesn't, it just comes and goes. You think you're in a good spot and then it says, oh, whoops, I've got you. So yeah. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, so I want you to be comfortable. I don't want to be under any pressure. It's not an interrogation. Yes, so the thing is, why do people not talk about it? I'll tell you why. Fair. It's the same thing across the board, anything to do with diversity and inclusion and minoritized group. It is fair. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear as well that it could happen to them. Some people are silly enough to think that if you go alongside somebody who's suffered a loss, it might just happen to you. Let's call it, okay? Fear of that, fear of what others might think, and just fear of having to feel. Some people just don't want to feel. They don't want to have to go through what you're going through, and they feel if they empathize with you, then it's gonna come rub off on them and it's gonna affect them. So we have got to change our mindset, because at some point, but for the grace of God go I. That's definite. Okay, there are certain things in the diversity and inclusion, like, you know, yeah, you're born Black, you're born from a different territory. Yes, you can't change that. But, you know, not everybody who's disabled was born disabled. Things happen to you. It's not their fault. And you know, the more we get around people and go together with people, the better we'll be. I see something coming here. Molly says here, second that what Bernie said, using your situation to help others is more than commendable. Yes, thank you, Molly. Oh, Molly, she's an incredible, I don't know how many of you know Molly. Molly was one of the winners at the Chwarae Teg Women's Spy Awards recently for the incredible work. Oh man, I said, you know, we women, we are doing it. We are really doing it despite the odds. The incredible work she's doing with Love Your Period campaign. Yes, and she's doing it living with serious illness, right? It's up to Molly if she wants to say anything more about that. But living with serious illness and pain and championing the cause for women. Come on, you know, that's the kind of thing. Thank you so much for that comment, Molly. You know, you're incredible. We really appreciate you. Yes, so you know, so the thing about it is this: my whole purpose, I believe, is to kind of blow the lid off the diversity and inclusion definition, and you know, let people consider that there are more characteristics, and maybe we need to stop saying protected characteristics. Get rid of that and just say, listen, we have to take care of each other. We've got to be kind. We've got to look out for those people who are suffering in whatever way, right, more than the other people that are around. We've got to look out for people. We need to be kind. We need to be aware. You know, Beth, with Chwarae Teg, you must have come upon some serious situations there in working with women. What are your views on other ways that you've seen women and men being minoritized and nobody being totally on board in supporting that?
It's the barriers that women face, you know, the traditional barriers that have never gone away. The woman being the main person in the home who takes care of all the sort of domestic chores and responsibilities. The woman is the one, generally, that looks after the children, takes more time off. The government have the shared parental leave scheme, yet it's so complicated and complex to work out. Organisations don't really understand it, so can't share it properly with their teams. The government make it really confusing as well with regards to the number of weeks you can have and how those can be taken. So women take on the burden of those responsibilities. We have unaffordable childcare in Wales here, across the UK, compared to what the earnings are. Cost of living crisis, as you know, that what we're going through. So women now more than ever are juggling and spinning lots of plates, which what happens then is they put themselves last. So anything to do with self-care, anything to do with self-development is sort of put on the back burner, because women are constantly fighting to ensure that their children are supported first, that their family, has food and a warm home, just the basics. So it's about influencers and policymakers recognizing the challenges for women that come in the form of of childcare to start with. Women want to work, they want to be able to work, but they also need support in the home. And this comes back to empowering everybody. So, there are some amazing men out there who do take on childcare and who do take on support in the sort of domestic responsibilities in the home. But it's everybody's business.
Exactly. It's interesting you said that, because, I have this true story about what happened to me earlier this year. In March, I had the privilege of leading, putting together a panel, a diversity and inclusion panel at the Excel Arena, Excel London for Business Revival Series. I had some powerhouses, women, on my panel, right? It was a panel of 5. So I arrived on the day to a woman, except one, but this particular woman, the one who could eventually make it, she actually was in chambers. She's a barrister, so she came late. But to a woman, they could not come on the day last minute because each one of them had childcare issues. All of them had husbands. No, just
why is it the woman's responsibility?
Let that sit with you for a while. Yeah. They each had husbands. Okay, and so I was put in a position where I had to give a talk. I mean, I did get clients out of it because they couldn't believe that I could have just pulled off a talk last minute. How do I speak like you, Bernie? But I said, that's untrue. Last minute. No, seriously, that happened this year, 2023. Yeah. Okay. I mean, okay, they've asked me to do another panel next year in 2024. Let's hope the women can come this time. But that is the truth. So what you're saying is absolutely right, Bethan. It is still the woman's responsibility. The lot falls on her. If there is an emergency and somebody's got to drop it, it is the woman.
Yeah, and that's the biggest barrier that we find. Yeah.
And Louise, you want to come in there?
Yeah, and I think from my point, I suddenly found myself through obviously the incident that I turned from a family of 4 to being a single mum. And I was left there with no support at all, as in, like, I was the one that had to get Elizabeth to school. If I didn't get her there wasn't anybody to rely on at all. But there was no wider assistance in that regard.
Wow.
And everybody else obviously has to go back to their jobs, back to their lives. And my life obviously flipped a complete 180 in the space of 24 hours. But as a single mum, as a woman, I still battle with that whole kind of asking for help. Whereas I think we shouldn't be stigmatized to think it's wrong to ask for help. And I think that's part of us as well.
It should be offered. It should just be part of the program, of the package. And some schools are brilliant and they offer a very early morning sort of breakfast club. But then some of them, the backlog and the list is huge. It's years that you've got to put your children on the list for. So it's about that affordable childcare and having and you being comfortable where your child is when you're not around. It's about choice. And that's the thing that we don't do well as a society with regards to how organizations are set up, is with those choices. And it's always usually the woman that is the one that has to compromise and juggle and spin all of those plates, and that is emotionally draining and physically draining to a woman who doesn't have some of the challenges that the likes of Anna and I face. And everybody's got a story and everybody's got their own challenges. And absolutely, as you say, Bernie, we need to lift the lid, and we need to appreciate and realize that there are so many people out there struggling in different ways. And grief is something that every single human being will deal with grief at some point.
Absolutely. So it behoves us to
Everybody.
get our head around it. Exactly. Because our time will come. It's either we're going to be the one who's going through the grief, especially that particular grief we're talking about, or we'll be the ones that's causing the grief to our families. And we'd want them to have the support.
What do they say? Grief is the only certainty. Grief is the only certainty in life.
That has passed, or it might be, we might be the one facing the grief. So we need to equip people to really embrace this part of life's journey. These groups of people who seem like they're minoritized, but they really aren't. It's just like we talk about the minorities being the BAME community. Do you know that the minorities, Black, Asian, and the minority ethnic groups are actually the global majority? Globally, we are the majority. Yes, it's just within certain contexts.
Yeah,
we are minoritized. We are the minority. It's the same with grief. I would like to put it to you. Grief is rife and rampant. But in your realm, you might find, and it might just be what you know about. What about those who are suffering silently in grief? That we can touch and feel and see your grief. But what about the other types of grief that obtain? And so we need to actually blow the lid on it and realize, how about us just starting to think about humanity?
Yeah? Well, it's grief. It's grief in the terms of moving house, losing your job. So let's talk about me just for 2 minutes. The fact that I've recently been made redundant from a charity that I was really, really passionate about, that I've followed for the last 30 years, and that I've been an empowerment coach and trainer for the last 7 years. Now, that is a grief that I am currently having to process on top of my grief. I was also divorced a few years ago. No fault, no what. However, that's another grief. I live without my child, another grief. It's layering. And the fact that I put a smile on my face, the fact that I, like Anna, show up, I function, I raise awareness, I do whatever I can to make life count and for other people. Because I need to find a purpose. I need to know that I'm honoring Peter in a way that he would be proud, and honoring myself in the fact that we're here and life is a gift and we're not here for very long. So whilst I'm here, I'm going to do something to make a difference, to make it better for my son and daughter, for the next generation. Whatever I can give, I'm going to give, so that I leave something behind. And that's really important to me. But
don't
understand.
Come on, I love it.
Is the layering, and it's the grief upon the grief upon the grief. And it's like there's not much consideration given to, oh, you'll get over it, or just cry, and oh, that's really sad, and you're having a bad day. As Anna will tell you, every single day it takes every part of our being just to get up and out of bed. And it's only our children that sort of force us to do that, our living children and those in heaven. And to be able to get through the day, by the time we get to the evening, we are spent. There is no energy left. We are done. I sit on that sofa after giving 150% every single day, and I am spent. It is done. And it's...
So you're taking me now, so you just love it. I love this moment of total honesty, because that's what this is all about. And it leads me quite perfectly into asking us to talk about allyship, because what we're talking about is really asking people to be good allies.
But who's my best ally, Bernie? Anna, who's my best ally? The one that fully understands and appreciates. Of course, I have other allies. Of course I do,
Yes.
as Anna will. However, those that understand the most are the ones that get it. It's
But it's also
exactly.
the ones that want to get it, Beth. You know, Beth, you spend the time with me.
Yeah.
You let me. I always feel quite guilty when I meet up with Beth, because I feel like I'm just going blur. You know, this is what's happening, because I don't feel like I can release to other allies. You know, sadly, I've been kind of boxed in by different people by saying, oh, well, you talk about the charity too much. Well, I'm talking about my husband and my son who passed away, and I'm trying to be positive about it. So now I'm not allowed to talk about that, on top of not talking about my grief, and on top of not talking about my trauma. But when I meet up with the right allies like Beth, I can actually leave there quite liberated and quite feeling like I've been understood and I've been listened to. Being listened to is the most important thing is being listened to, and people do not listen. And that's, you know, that's sad, I think, because there's so much you can get from the world by listening.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely 100%. Because what is allyship? You said something about Beth is one of your best allies, and you said because she listens. You cannot be an ally to anyone if you have no idea what they're going through. And you cannot have a true idea of what they're going through if you don't take some time, spend some time to speak to them, to listen to them, not shout your idea. Oh, let's have a conversation now. This is how we're going to help you. We're going to do this, that. Instead of saying, Anna, what makes you feel better? What makes you cope better? Is it being able to speak more about the charity, help other people? Is it diving more into the work that helps you to feel more connected to your loved ones and help you to live with your grief? Because listen, guys, they're not going to get over it. A lot of us think, why not get over it? They are living with their grief.
Yeah, it's textbook and tick box. People like to go textbook, right? I've asked those questions. Now I can tick the box that I've asked those questions. Or I've looked at the policy, and the policy says, right, just check in, have a little one-to-one, do this, and it's over. There isn't this constant, just empathetic consideration for the fact that you are grieving all of the time. Grief, yes, it comes in waves, and there are certain times of the year for Anna and I that this time of year is the worst. However, every milestone, every birthday, every Christmas, every Easter, every Valentine's Day, Halloween, fireworks night, you name it. Our kids were at the age where they were embracing all of that stuff. So every single one of those things has an impact on us and is a trigger. Let alone the day-to-day life, just the day-to-day grind of stuff. And what people seem to forget is they don't forget our children died. They forget that we are daily struggling. And I don't want anybody to roll out the carpet for me and super special treatment. I just want a little bit of a consideration. And I do often get that.
Like all minoritized groups, like all people who are suffering in their own grief with their own situations, they just want to feel like there's a moment when you actually care. 100%. And that is why I've got to talk about my allyship training that's coming up at the St. Davies Hotel. Beth, you're going to be one of the panelists on the day, sharing with Susan Smart. She's coming from the perspective of dealing with trauma from a different perspective, narcissistic behavior and abuse. And Haley Dunn, who was also 22 years at Chwarae Teg, and she's coming from the emotional intelligence point of view. And I just think what I'm trying to do is just say, guys, let us not pigeonhole this thing and put it in a box. Diversity and inclusion, it's all about humanity. It's about being kind and looking at the very many ways that we can make life better for each other, and as a result make it better for ourselves. Because when we're making life better for each other, we are creating that space for ourselves. So in the allyship training, I'm going to be looking at ways that we can, debunk the myths, and change mindsets, expand our mind, get out of the cage of groupthink and echo chambers, and understand the privilege, because even within your situation, you understood your privilege. Yes. And because you understood your privilege in your darkest situations, you then harnessed your power, and you've harnessed your power, and look at the incredible things you have done. I don't want, I'm not going to put you under any pressure, but if you wouldn't mind, both of you, I'm going to ask you to share some of the achievements that you have actually had over the last these 7 years of grief that you've had. This no 13 years for you, isn't it? 13 for you. It's both 13 years. That's the same year.
No, it's 8 years. It's Peter was 13 when he died.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So I'll start first with you, Anna. Just tell us about your accomplishments. What you've achieved, how you've empowered yourself. Yes. Oh, hang on. Before we do that, Molly's put something on. Let's see what Molly said here. At an event I was at, someone said, "Thank you to the people that sat opposite me, and let me tell the same story 1,000 times until I felt a little more able to get through the day." I cannot imagine and won't even try to, but a quote you may like and sounds like the relationship you both had, which is wonderful. I truly hope you find more people that listen, understand, and allow you to talk about what you want to without feeling guilty doing so. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Molly, because I had a friend, I have a friend still who's lost her daughter. And, I just felt in the beginning that all I needed to do was just go and have coffee with her. I never knew the lady before she lost the daughter. I knew the daughter separately. And so when I heard that she passed away, I went to the funeral, and I just felt so, drawn to this lady. And I said, if you don't mind, I would love to have. And so we spent a lot of time over the last year and a half just having coffee and her just talking. And we have giggles as well. We managed to have giggles because she didn't feel under pressure, and sometimes she just cried. So yes, just listening, just having people talk. And she did say some people just don't want to hear it. They don't want to know it, Thank you for that, Molly. So Anna Louise, some of the ways that you have have harnessed your power and the achievements that you've made.
Yeah, well, try to really gear on the fact of the gift of life rather than the life being taken away of both of the boys. And Stu was very good with his kind of quotes with, the biggest thing you can give in life is your time, and the fact that, show your faith by the way that you live. And I took those kind of mantras, and I just thought, this is really what the boys would want me to do. So the charity actually started a week after they passed away, and it was after Fraser's favourite film. And I saw called Believe, which is about Sir Matt Busby struggling with trauma and grief following the death of the Busby babes, which is really kind of ironic now when you look at that, but maybe a sign as well. But since then, it seemed that something needed to be done in education, and something really needed to be done in relation to supporting those involved in organ donation, whether or not they donate or not. So in regards of education, we've managed to get organ donation into our Welsh Baccalaureate. We've actually managed, we've got the or we did have within 6 months after the largest amount of opt-ins in Wales. The home countries have kind of looked towards Wales, and now they've adopted this soft opt-out. In relation to education, we go into schools, we talk to the children about talking about organ donation. But probably my biggest and most proud of is the fact that we worked with a gentleman that did Super TED, who's also from Wales but now lives in LA, and we produced our own organ donation Fraser Bear animation called Fab Gift of Life. That's now reached 8.2 million people globally and won the Charity Film Awards. I scripted it. Elizabeth even helped me produce it, along with obviously Splash Productions. And we've now actually translated this animation into 8 more languages. And over the next year, we look to launch those in Urdu, Bengali, Arabic, Spanish, Castilian Spanish, Polish, Italian and French, to encourage those conversations, to try and remove the taboo, and also to ensure that people understand that this is also a diverse group, those that are waiting for transplant, those that actually donate. And in relation to support, my current most proud of is we've actually been donated a very large area of land in the North Cardiff Crematorium to make the first reflective, educational organ donation Believe garden that we are looking to unveil next September. We are going to have a huge heart in the middle that will be seen from Google Maps. And we want this to be an education tool as well, as I said, a supportive garden, and it will be there forever. And that to me is really just to show people that life is not about death, but it can also be about life. So if anyone wants to get involved in any of these projects, I'd love to work with everybody. We want to launch these animations separately into each community. We want to launch this garden with absolute bells on, and we can really show still what we in Wales can do to show the rest of the world how we're setting the pace in relation to organ donation.
I went on mute. Congratulations, my darling. Congratulations. Well done. Beth, tell us about all, because I know you've also done so much in your situation. You've harnessed your power. Thank you.
Yes, we have. And just following on from what Anna said there, and I really got this from Fraser, is that it's not the years in your life, but the life in your years. And, really inspired by Anna and so many others who've been in similar grief situations to me. Just that, as you said, Bernie, the power that comes from grief, and the greater the love, the greater the loss, and the growth that comes from grief is evident in the legacy that's left behind. And that's what we wanted to create for Peter. When Peter died, I had a house full of flowers, and the flowers, of course, started to die, and I was not happy having lots of dead flowers in the house. So we asked for donations to Diabetes UK Cymru instead. And people gave and gave and gave, and we had about £10,000 in the space of a week. And we were, amazed and proud and very overwhelmed by this, and wanted to channel this energy and channel this money into good. And we didn't know much about type 1 diabetes at the time. We didn't know about the signs and the symptoms. The type 1 community, the army, as I call them, are absolutely amazing. They do phenomenal things, and they do not let type 1 stop them from doing anything. And they do it so well and so seamlessly that you often don't even know they have type 1. And that might be, their personal choice. And of course, that's absolutely fine, and their prerogative. But the awareness side of things, then, I like to think I'm educated. However, I think I might have heard of type 1, but wasn't really sure about the sort of complexities of it, and certainly didn't realize it could be fatal, and that over 25% of children get diagnosed in DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis, and that in itself can be fatal. And if not fatal, then they absolutely need high dependency unit in hospital to control their levels of insulin and to make them stable. So we decided, with this money and with this campaign, Peter's granddad started a petition, and we took the petition to Welsh Government and to UK Government. We got the petition passed in Welsh Government. So there was a brand new pathway introduced by one of the consultants, Dr. Ambika Shetty, amazing woman. She developed this new pathway so that when children present at the doctors and they're not very well, these 4 questions are asked. We're not asking for a big MRI scan. It's not thousands of pounds worth of stuff. It's pennies for a finger prick test. And it's toilet, thirsty, tired and thinner. You ask those 4 questions. If any answer to those 4 T's is yes, you do a simple finger prick test, and the result is instant. So it's about introducing that. And that's why we've launched recently a campaign called Rewrite Peter's Story. And
Wow.
that is, we can't change Peter's story, but we can rewrite it for others. And that
Wow.
was really what we were passionate about. A pharmaceutical company in the States, the CEO heard me talk on a podcast for The Economist, because that's what I listen to. I don't, but now I do. And he donated a large sum of money for me personally, to launch a campaign in Peter's memory and save more lives. And that is what we've done. So we've been recognised over the years for many different awards. It's not about the awards, as Anna will tell you. It's about what the awards bring, and the awards bring awareness.
Yes.
And awareness brings more sign-ups.
Yes.
So, you know, Anna's organ donation after Fraser, it inspired me to contact the hospital to find out if my dad, who died of a brain hemorrhage 31 years ago, if he gave his organs, and he did. And then the story, the letters that we had from the families, and the stories we were able to tell all of our wider family, because we then realized that he was an organ donor, is huge, and the legacy that carries. And I think that both Anna and I, along with other bereaved families that we know who do very similar things in their own fields, it's about a legacy for their children. It's about a legacy for them to prove that out of something so heartbreaking and so awful, you can change lives for others. And that's really what we are, Anna and I are still here for.
That's just incredible. Thank you, both of you, so much. You know, you said about rewriting Peter's story. That's what this is all about. You know, it is rewriting the stories, the many stories of that we go through in our own lives, but the many stories of others. When we make that difference, when we act in a way that make people feel that they matter, when we take the time to listen, when we take the time to get alongside somebody else's vision and support it, like that man who heard you speak on the podcast and decide, I'm going to put some money there, I'm going to help. You know, it is not just sometimes just, oh yes, I am having my thing, you come and join my, how about getting alongside somebody else's journey? Because you invariably are helping yourselves. Because when you do anything to change the demography and the certain things that obtain within our communities, we are actually creating a legacy that might someday, if not impact directly on us for good, but it might impact on our children or on our children's children. What you have done, what your dad, it was your dad, is it, or granddad?
My dad died when he was 31. Yeah.
So what your dad did, look at the legacy now. Yes. And what prompted you to even check what happened with Anna? You know, it is...
Bernie, it's the ripple effect, and I totally believe in the ripple effect, and the ripples of so many of the inspiring families, of bereaved families that I know, the things that they've done that prompts other things. My friend, her daughter died of a blood cancer, and I'm now on the stem cell register, Anthony Nolan Trust, I think it is. You know, I signed up for that. I encouraged others to sign up for that. There's a huge ripple to be had from the inspiring work that so many bereaved families do.
Exactly. So we're coming into our last 7 minutes of the hour. Didn't I tell you it would go quickly? I told you it would go quickly, didn't I? So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into quickly, now about a minute or two. I want to give my guests every time an opportunity to ask, just to redirect the thoughts of the viewers at this time to that one thing that you would like them to take away from this entire session. If they don't remember anything else, what it is that you would just hate to know that they've left on the floor. Yes, what do you want them to take with them? For me, what I'd like you to take away is the diversity and inclusion agenda. It's far wider than we think. Let's not pigeonhole it. Let us not look at just the key protected characteristics. Let us look at humanity and the things that affect us as humans. Let's take the time to find out what's going on in the lives of the people that we are set to manage, to lead in any organization. How do we care for them? And how do we find out? Let's practice allyship. And a good way to do it is come out and come to my training on the 22nd of November at the St. Davies Hotel, 9 till 3, 5-star training, 5-star food and catering. And great companies will be there who are already leading the way. That's the thing. Don't think you know it all. I've been to allyship training. I don't need. Listen, you never know it all. And on top of that, you get to meet other industry leaders in the space that you can develop relationships with, and you can build your business better and get to learn how to create and continue to sustain a fair work culture. So that's what I'm asking you to do. It's on Eventbrite. Message me. Come on down. And then I would like to ask Anna Louise, would you please give me your takeaway, and then I'll ask you, Bethan.
Yes, for me, I think it's probably still there. We call the animation the Fab Gift of Life. Fraser's name was Fraser Aaron Bates, Fab Gift of Life. And it's about, yes, appreciating the gift of life, but also talking to everybody about how you feel, but also calling that friend, not maybe calling that ally, maybe not on a date that's particularly poignant for that person, but maybe just a check-in, just to let them know that your allies are there, that they will support you, and see what they can do to help as well. So, because together, with allies around you, it does help restructure you to focus on the days and the tasks in hand, to believe, basically, believe in yourself, believe in everyone else. And together, if we believe, we can make a difference.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Bethan.
Same again. Sit with your bereaved friends and listen. And please ask them once, twice, 3 times, 4 times if they're okay. And as Anna said earlier, really, really listen. That's vitally important for, as you said, Bernie, for humanity. The second thing is learn the 4 T's of type 1 diabetes. These are signs of the onset of type 1. Toilet, thirsty, tired and thinner. 4 T's. If your child displays any symptom at any time, or if you display any symptom, get checked out. It's a quick finger prick test, and time is critical and can save lives. If you go to YouTube and check out Rewrite Peter's Story, there's a video there that you can share far and wide and learn all about type 1 diabetes and how you can stop my tragedy happening to another family.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much, ladies. Wow, this has been a really emotive hour, I think. Sometimes you come on and you have a good, and you get all excited and so on. And yes, don't get me wrong, I get excitement. But today, I think it was very sobering, because we've got to sometimes deal with some hard topics. And we've got to, as just sit a while and consider certain things. I am certainly going to pay attention to those T's, the toilet, the thirst, tired, and getting thinner. Because as you say, it happens. And my father had diabetes. That's actually what took him out in the end, So it is real. And none of us are immune to things that could go wrong. But I've got to say, in the things that go wrong, there are the gems, there are the opportunities, there are the moments that you can capture, and you can say to that thing, you're not going to win, because it's back to humanity. And I have such faith in humanity and in human beings to find the strength and the courage and the purpose and the opportunity in the things that others would say, oh, I could never handle. But you will if it happens to you. You will and you can. But more people will and more people can if we all come together and be that support, be that listening ear, be that armchair that they can sit in, you know, emotionally, and just talk. Molly says, thank you so much for this excellent session. We'll check out and share both of your video resources. Awesome. Thank you, Molly. We're having Molly on as a guest soon. And I think we're out of time. Woo, we've gone over the hour. I've never done that before. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been so exciting. Don't leave, ladies. Bye, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Isabel.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.